Hello and welcome to the National Leadership Briefing. My name is Doug Sharp and I will be your host for today. Well, it is Friday, the first Friday, in fact, of June the 2nd. And today we are going to be moving very quickly because we have an awful lot to cover. For those of you, of course, that come on the briefing early, you get the benefit of knowing what the agenda for the day is because I always go immediately into the agenda. So if you're watching this on YouTube or following it up after and you want to catch one of these briefings live, then make sure you're there right at the very beginning because I'm going to tell you what we're going to cover today. And today we are covering an awful lot because, again, of the ferocity and the velocity of the things that are coming at us and the sheer volume of change that's happening in our world. We need to cover a lot with that 1 hour that we spend together once a month. But I commit to you that every hour that we do spend together is valuable and is going to add to the efforts that you are making locally to transform your community and enhance the lives of your neighbor and your nation. So let's get right into it. Here's the agenda for today. First of all, I'm going to be giving you an intelligence briefing, I'm calling it today, something that I believe I should probably have done a while ago regarding this current CPC, that's the Conservative Party of Canada, policy convention that's coming up and the process that we are in leading up to it. Things occurred in the past that are affecting the things that are happening today. And I want to make sure that you're on the same page as I am and you have all the benefit of all the information I have about what we're experiencing now and why the past has impacted it. So I'm going to be giving you a bit of an intelligence briefing on that today. I'm also going to be shining a bit of a light on a set of circumstances that contrast one party's and one province's preparation for a provincial election and another province's current circumstances and how they are advancing their medical or health policy and making new legislation and laws in that province. There's a connection between a couple of provinces that I really want to shine a light on so that we can see how they are interesting in contrast. Let's just call it that. It's interesting in contrast. Then we're moving into the boardroom, and I am so excited about this boardroom segment today because, as I said, with the change, the pace of change, the volume of change, the ferocity of the change, the type of change, we need to level up when we start talking about our training and our preparing to meet the challenges on the road ahead or to capitalize on the opportunities. I always encourage you to go straight to the NLB Essentials webpage of our website at nlbcanada.ca. Again, the National Leadership Briefing website is nlbcanada.ca. You go there, and on the web, there's a web tab there that's called the NLB Essentials. I always say start there. If you're new to the briefing today, make sure that right after this, you go watch all 4 of those videos there. We've got 4 videos that are just a basic foundation that gives you a sense as to what it is that we're doing here, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and then makes all of the other conversations that we have and the training that we do that much more valuable. Well, today in the boardroom, we are leveling up each one of those 4 videos that are there. So I'm going to be in the boardroom with an assumption that you've already seen the videos. So if you haven't seen them already, you might want to go watch them now. Pause it. If you're watching this on a video, go pause this video and go watch them now. But I'm going to make an assumption that you've watched them already because we're going to level up the training and we're going to get into more detail that's going to make you more effective when you're engaging and using this information to advance the things that you believe locally and the things that you do in your own sphere of influence. So make sure that you do that you cover those videos, but looking forward to going to the boardroom today anyway and making sure that we're advancing and growing and becoming stronger. And again, if we're all on the same page and working together, we're that much stronger. So, all right. And then finally, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking a look at an event. Another Transformer Zoom call is coming up. So I have the pleasure of introducing you to somebody who is we're talking about a high performance player. This is, if you ever wanted to up your game and move to the next level, you got to find people that are going to challenge you. Like I always said, if I want to learn how to become a better golfer, I better play with better golfers because that brings you up, that that ups your game. Well, I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman today who's going to be the next speaker on the next Transformer Zoom call. So for those of you who have a heart for your communities, you are going to want to definitely be on until the end of the call. And then finally, in the end, at the end of the call today, I'm going to be sharing you a quick story about a conversation that I had recently about the funding of our organization that I thought was very interesting. So I'll share the details of that with you as well. All right, well, let's get right to it. Come right back with the intelligence briefing. We're going to stay here at the desk for that. But right after this video, take a quick break, and then we're going to move into the boardroom and level up. Thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to serving you. Bye for now. Okay, welcome back. Let's get started. Now, the intelligence briefings, two of them today. One of them was one that actually came to my attention during a conversation that I was having with a group of individuals in a city here in Canada who had gotten together, and they were working to transform and have an impact locally. And they just really wanted to move to the next level. They wanted to sort of climb from where they were to the next level of influence within their community at the municipal level. And during our conversation, one of the participants and one of the activists that were on the ground there had mentioned that, hey, there was something a little bit strange about this Conservative Party of Canada process, the policy process that we're in right now with the party as we move towards the policy convention in September. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that, I'm going to go through a real quick overview of what's going on, but I won't get into too much detail because we just don't have the time. But it's really critical that you understand that there are opportunities within political parties to actually make a shift away from a direction that they're going. And their policy books, they have policy books that they actually have established, and they're voted on by the members of the party. So we're always at the National Leadership Briefing looking on the horizon, looking for those opportunities where we can have influence in shifting the policies of political parties. And one such opportunity is coming up in September with the Conservative Party of Canada, as they are having a policy convention. Now, every time there is a policy convention that's coming up, the National Board of Directors of the party, they come together and establish the rules and the parameters and how it is that the policy proposals are going to move through the process. And they set it up so that the idea being that they can get maximum input from all the members, and then they can streamline the policies and the proposals into a number that is manageable and can be dealt with at convention. So you might start out with like 300 great ideas. Well, actually, it's usually like 100 great ideas and 200 bad ideas. So you got to really work against some of those ones. But and then you might pare them down to like 60. That's all you can deal with. So this policy process that we're in right now, leading up to the September National Convention, National Policy Convention, is on. We're in it. For those of you who are participating, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not in it, I encourage you next time, get in it. It's actually really interesting what you can do. You buy a $15 membership, and you can have a significant amount of influence as you lead up into this process. Okay, so we're in this process now, and it is difficult. It's a challenging process, and there's a lot of rules and a lot of gates that are closed in front of us. And as we're trying to advance the things that we believe in related to the 4 pillars, the principles that you and I believe in, the things that we want to advance together, it's hard work. It is. This is a tough one. I got to tell you, it's a tough one. Why is it so tough, though? Well, the intelligence that I wanted to share with you today is a perspective as to why it is tough. And it's not a bad thing. It's something that I normally don't talk about because it shares a bit of our strategy out in the open. And we kind of like to keep strategy sort of quiet. But the reality is that at the last policy convention of the Conservative Party of Canada, they had an experience, the party and many people within the party had an experience where you and I, people like you and I that share our views and values, people that believe in faith, family, and freedom, church-going people that are parts of church families and are well developed and integrated into our communities. Well, the pandemic was on, and there was a policy convention back during the pandemic where it was considered a virtual one. They actually created a virtual process where we could all log on and attend virtually. Well, the reality is that the party learned during that time that you and I are very well connected in our communities, that we have infrastructure, bricks and mortar. You and I are in relationship already. So you give us an opportunity where we don't even have to leave our house. I mean, we could just like log on and we can participate in the process and pay $15 and be a part of it. Boy, did we take full advantage of that. So the reality is at the last policy convention, you and I and all of our friends, the Fayteens of the world and the Scott Haywards and the Alyssas of Right Now, the organization, and Campaign Life Coalition, and all the people that believe in life and the issues that we share together, we ran the table on the party. We really did. We actually did very well. We advanced an awful lot that we wanted to have advanced. We didn't score all the touchdowns, but we did get a considerable amount. So this time around, as the party came to now an in-person convention and the establishment of the process leading up to the convention, they saw what happened last time and they made the rules a little tougher on us. Okay, so some people could sit around and go, oh my goodness, they're just gaming the system and they're griping and they're trying to gatekeep and keep us out of the process. But the reality is I kind of don't blame them, because we actually had some pretty big wins last time, and that's my perspective on it. I don't ever complain about whatever the rules are. You establish the rules and we will all play by the same rule book. I'm very, very comfortable with competing. I believe that you and I, we can develop and execute strategy just as well as the next guy, but it's not always going to be easy. Some of them are going to be tougher than others. So if you're involved in the current process, the policy process with the Conservative Party of Canada, I want you to just celebrate all the way along that we're engaged. Now, we're going to take the wins where we can get them this time, and we're going to do our best to level the playing field for next time. But this is the game we're in, and those are the rules. So let's just get through the game, do our very best, and at the end of the day, we're all going to be high-fiving. High fives everywhere, big celebrations, because it's always a win just for showing up, doing whatever you can do to advance the principles again of the 4 pillars. That's what we're doing in there. We're in there to make change in any one of these political parties. We're in there because we're trying to transform it into something that is more Christ-like. So that's why we're there. All right, that's the intelligence briefing on the Conservative Party of Canada convention for today. Now, I want to move right into the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about again, which is, I think, important. We're calling it an intelligence briefing because I think it's going to raise your level of awareness. And when you raise your level of awareness of circumstances around you, I believe that it raises your level of understanding. And when you raise your level of understanding, you become more competent in executing whatever the strategy is. And when you are more competent, you become more confident and you take more action. That is my experience in the citizen action world for the last 20 some odd years, is that if you do awareness, understanding, competence, and confidence, that is the road to action that makes a difference. And we see it over and over and over again. So that's why I'm going to share this next little bit of intelligence with you to raise that level of awareness. Okay, right now, we have just come out of an election in Alberta, and if I had time today, I would go through we would do an overview, and perhaps what I'll do is I'll do a special video of that, but it is what it is. It landed where it landed in Alberta, but leading up to the election in Alberta, I want you to know that there was something very interesting that happened. You could see that it was going to be tight. You could see as it came closer and closer to election day that there are 2 very different ideas in Alberta, in the province of Alberta, between the NDP government proposals and the Conservative government proposals. There was a very, very well-defined choice for Albertans, but you could see it was going to be a tight one, and it was going to come down to some very, very tight races. And so everyone was just saying, hey, what can we do? This is just, it's going to be tight. We got to get more players on the field. And so Fatine, she sent out an email, and I think you might have seen one of her videos online, and she said, I just didn't get the results that I wanted. I thought we would get more people responding to this call for action in the province of Alberta. And I thought it was very interesting because while that was happening in Alberta, we just recently had a situation in the province of British Columbia where there were some changes that our NDP government made in British Columbia. So you've got an election happening in Alberta, and you were having a difficult time getting the attention of people in our community to get out there and knock on doors and do what they can to push that ball over the finish line. Well, in British Columbia, the NDP government that we already had was in place making terrible decisions about health policy and the management of our health resources in our province. And so I just held the two things up side by side, and I said, isn't that interesting that people in Alberta, they don't know how bad it's going to be for them with an NDP government? Because the reality is that the NDP has one party. They're connected at the federal level and the provincial level. One NDP party in one province is going to be advancing the same things that they're advancing in another province. And if the Albertans knew how much we were praying for the opportunity to get out and door knock here in British Columbia, I mean, we would, if somebody said, Doug, what do you really pray for in your province of British Columbia? I would say, please, Lord, bring us an election. Bring us an election so we can somehow bunker bust out the NDP government that we have in place here, because they are making terrible decisions that are significantly negatively going to impact the lives of our neighbor, and I believe overall our nation as a whole. I think that we're almost the front runners in bad health policy in our province. And so we're praying for an election, while in Alberta, they're squandering the opportunity that they have in an election. And so I say to you, please, when you're thinking about whether or not you're going to participate in an election, just remember, we live in a temporal world. The very word itself, temporal, means subject to change. So in our temporal world, things can get worse. Now, good side of it is that God also created the system, the temporal world, because he also knows that things can get better. And you and I can be salt and light and get out there and make things better, but they can get worse. And in Alberta, as I say, it is what it is. The outcome is what the outcome was, but there was just not as many players on the field as there needed to be, especially in those final days. So please, in your own provinces, when you have the opportunity to participate, and either hold ground, and I don't mean hold political party ground of a particular political party. I'm talking about when you have an opportunity to preserve the right of parents to raise their children the way they want, or you have the opportunity to preserve the right of belief and freedom of religion, or your province's position that cares for vulnerable people, or maybe one party is more fiscally responsible than another. But when you have an opportunity to speak up for those things, just remember, it can get worse. And it is worse for some of us out there. So anyway, please take full advantage of the experience and the contrast between Alberta and British Columbia, and don't let that happen to you in your own home province in the next election. Get out there, get busy, and stay plugged into the National Leadership Briefing and people like Fatine and Scott from Right Now and those guys, because that's what we're doing. We're just trying to help you move along. Whenever those opportunities for you to capitalize on, we want to be there to help you and serve you all the way along. And that's not just you individuals, that's also churches, church leaders, and anybody that we can help as they mobilize, again, not to win an election, but to preserve the things that that produce positive results in the lives of our neighbor. Okay. All right, great. That's it. That's all of the intelligence briefings for today. We're going to move into the boardroom right after this, and we're going to level up on all four. This is a pretty aggressive goal line that we're looking for here today, but we're going to level up on all four of the NLB essential videos today. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for your attention so far. See you in the boardroom. These are the things that we believe in. First, that parents have the right to raise their children the way they want. Second, that those we elect to serve us in civil government must respect and defend our right of belief and freedom of religion. Number 3, that the laws and policies of civil government must provide for the safety and security of the citizens, especially the vulnerable among us. And number 4, that it is inappropriate to heap debt upon the backs of our children and future generations. They came from you. They're your pillars. They're the things that you believe. Okay, good to be in the boardroom here again. Now, this is an exciting place, you guys. Get used to it always, because hopefully what you're going to do is what you see done here in this boardroom to some degree. I'd like you to work towards that level of competence with confidence to actually share some of these same things. But until you feel comfortable sharing some of the things that we talk about here, you always can just, of course, just use the videos, invite people to the National Leadership Briefing. That's what we want you to do anyway. We want you to constantly be inviting people to join you. Just say, hey, look, I don't know if you realize it, but there's a group of people that get together once a month for 1 hour. And what we do is we set aside our differences. We lay aside all the things that we might disagree on and just focus on advancing 4 key principles into society, culture, politics, and government. And in other words, we're doing stuff. And so if people are frustrated from inactivity and they're just uncomfortable with where things are at, inviting them to the National Leadership Briefing just might be a fantastic release for them to have an opportunity to investigate and look into what they can do. But you've got to actually raise that level of understanding, confidence, and competence so that they can take effective action. And that's what we want, of course, okay? As we talked about earlier. All right, well, this is what we're going to do today. As I told you, we're going to level up in all 4 of the key areas within what we call the NLB Essentials training. Again, go to the website, nlbcanada.ca. You're going to see a menu tab that says NLB Essentials. There's 4 videos there. Those 4 videos are foundational. And so what you're going to find there is you're going to find 4 videos. First of all is the 4 pillars training. You're going to find U training. You're going to find Sphere Authority training, and you're going to find Horizon training. We're going to do all of those here now, leveling up your understanding. So we're going to kind of move it to the NLB Essentials 2.0 version, so that you can sort of get a little bit more advanced in your thinking after you see the videos introduced to you as more of an elementary proposition. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, I always tell people we want to start with the 4 pillars. They are the things that we rally around here on the National Leadership Briefing. If you take a look at these 4 pillars, there's a story that is told on the website about where they came from. Why is it that we care about a parent's right to raise their children the way they want? Why do we care about our right of belief and freedom of religion? Why is it important whether the vulnerable are taken care of in our communities with the laws and policies that are established by civil government? And of course, is it really that important that that burden of debt is lifted off of the backs of our children and future generations? We say it is, because when we surveyed you and all of the people that we served, those are the things that were most important to you. So that's why we focus on them. Now, it also turns out that those are key battlegrounds in society, culture, politics, and government right now, though, because then that's why I always say hats off to you and all of the people in the faith communities that we surveyed, because somehow back in 2016, you knew that we were going to come to this moment in time in society where we would be confronted by these challenges, and we needed to be equipped to respond when our parental authority was placed at risk, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so that is why we start at the 4 pillars, because it is the foundation of what we rally around together when we come together. The goal being where our voice is stronger when we speak with a unified voice. Okay, that you're going to find on the website. But how are we going to level up this understanding here? First of all, you level up your understanding and your ability to use these tools, these principles. You level up by using them and drilling and training with them. The only way that you can get competent is if you actually drill and train the 4 pillars. Now, when I say it, you might notice that when I say it, I don't have to read off a piece of paper. I don't have to, you could cover this right up. And if you woke me out of a dead sleep in the middle of the night and said, Doug, what are the 4 pillars? I would be able to rattle them off right away because I drill and train them all the time. Why do I do that? So I can impress you and how wonderful I, no, that's not it at all. It's because I want it to be the thing I defer to the minute I get into an opportunity where I can work out the actual practice of using them. So for example, if I'm standing in front of my elected representative and they say, Doug, what do I need to know? What's important? I go, well, hey, I'll tell you what's really important right now is parents' right to raise their kids the way they want. That's really important. That's not only important to me, that's important to all the people that I know. And as a matter of fact, I've put together a small army of, I mean, that's what you want to do though, is you want to make sure that is the thing you defer to, because you want to make sure that everybody across the nation is advancing these things wherever there is an opportunity to do so. And if you don't automatically defer to it and immediately go to your training when you have an opportunity, then you got to spend more time. You just got to spend more time. That's all it is. I mean, you think about all of those tier 1 operators in the Canadian military. They don't just like show up all chubby and bloated the day of the battle. No, are you kidding? They're in the gym. They're training. They're conditioning. They're drilling training. They're constantly working things out. They're working out the mission, and they're going to make sure that in the crisis moments, in those times where they're challenged, they immediately defer to their training. That's what you got to do. Now, you also got to look, like I say, for those opportunities to use them. And I'm going to give you an example right now of a parent who saw an opportunity to drill and use one of the 4 pillars, or one of the principles of the 4 pillars, and took advantage of it. And this, I'm actually going to include this in the post notes today, but this is a letter that was sent from a parent to a teacher at a school. Now, I'm not going to expose the parent and tell you who it is, but this is a real live parental letter. And so it's a letter that had some concerns about the amount of LGBTQ information that was being delivered to their children while at school. And it starts out, it says, "Good morning," the name, "I am writing you today to ask you for your comments on the continuous highlighting of LGBTQIA2S+ within our schools. Before I continue, I want to express very clearly that this question does not come from a place of bigotry, hatred, religiosity, or judgment towards the people that are in the spectrum. I have many people in my life and fall within that spectrum, and they are loved, respected, welcomed, and treasured people." So this is and it goes on and on and on. And there's a concern that is expressed by a parent who possesses the authority to speak about their right to raise their children the way they want. So a parent deferring to that automatically saw that opportunity and exercised it, took advantage of it right away. That's where we want you. So that's how you level up. You become really competent in knowing them. So you drill and train them, read them, go over it, come to the National Leadership Briefing, tell all your friends, all that stuff. And then you look for opportunities where you can exercise it. That's how you get leveled up with the 4 pillars. Okay, the next training is called U training. Now, U training is really important for us to know, because this is the key thing about the difference between our organization and the way that we interact with you, and perhaps other places that you might go. We're not trying to build these organizations all across the nation that you can then come to the meetings and you could go, no, wait a second. We're telling you that it starts with you. You are the center of influence within your sphere of influence. And so it's up to you to build out that center of influence around you. But there's some really key moments in time that you got to experience before you start doing that, just to make sure that you're on solid ground. And that's why what we do is we encourage you to start at the top, you, looking up and aligning yourself with where God wants you to be. I'm going to tell you really quick, I'm going to level you up right now, because I want to tell you about an experience that just completely set me straight really early in this whole process. I was a brand new Christian over 20 years ago, and I just was having a great time as a brand new Christian. I was enjoying myself, always going to church on Sunday and throughout the week, just getting to know the Lord and having lots of fun. I mean, it really was fun. And then one day, the pastor's wife got up in church and she said to me, well, she was actually talking to everybody, but it felt like she was talking right to me. She said, "Hey, if you don't know why you're saved, then what you need to do is you need to get on your knees and pray to God that Jesus would birth a vision in your heart as to why you're saved, because you're saved for a reason. You have a purpose, and you need to become aligned with that purpose. And that moment in time, everything just went like this, and I fell into a place, this is after some prayer, obviously, where I did in fact do what she say. I did pray to God that Jesus would birth a vision in my heart, and then I became aligned with God's purpose for my life, which was to encourage people to vote. That's all I got at the time. So, but that's what it was. But you have a purpose too, and you need to become aligned with that. So if you want to level up for the U training and you want to be the most effective person that you can be, you need to fall into alignment with where God wants you to be. And the only way that I know of, because of my own personal experience, is to get on your knees and pray to God that Jesus bursts a vision in your heart as to why you're saved, because you are definitely saved for a reason. Then these three arrows here, they point to what we call your authorities. You have authority. Once you're aligned, you have authority in the place you're at, in all different spheres, in all different areas. You have different authorities that you can use to advance yourself or propel yourself into your purpose. And that's where we teach constituent authority, citizen authority, political party authority as one of the optional authorities. And you can also use kingdom authority. Now, by leveling up in that regard, so first of all, I said, fall into line with your purpose. I'm going to give you another thing to level up with today, because I'm going to put in the post notes today a book that you absolutely need to have, and it's written by Steve Holmstrom, and it's a book that will help you to understand how the kingdom of God works here on this earth, so that you can access the authority of the kingdom of God when you are executing or walking out your purpose on this earth. That is a book that I'm really encouraging you to get your hands on. It's available at Amazon. I'll put the link in the post notes today. So that's the level up advice there. This one here, this arrow here is because we encourage you to walk alongside your leader. Whoever is your pastor or your church leader, somebody that you're willing to submit to. You're not trying to like drag them along your life's purpose, but you want to make sure that you're communicating to them when God does reveal this to you, and you do receive and you do get a sense as to what we want you to be walking with somebody, so at least they know what you're doing. It's something that is just so much easier if you've got someone going, okay, I'll pray together with you on that. I'll support you in that. And also if you get kind of, because, you know, there were a couple of times over the years where I've gotten a little off, I've needed to be put back in line. So that's what you want to do. Okay, so that's you. Get yourself leveled up. Get the right person. Get your authorities. Get aligned. All of that is leveling up. Now, this is your sphere of influence. This is what's next in the U training. Now, I'm going to go over to here. This is the Sphere Authority Training Template. This is another training template that we use that you're going to see. This is what U training is all about. And we always say, build your sphere of influence. Find people in your sphere of influence that share your views and values, encourage them to come alongside you and work to advance the things that you believe in, like the principles of the 4 pillars. Because what we're doing over here is we're building a tribe around you. You yourself locally need to be in relationship, serving others, bringing them together, helping them along, and encouraging them by saying, hey, look, I know you might be a little as frustrated as I am about the way things are going, and maybe you have kids too, and you're a little bit concerned about parental authority being kind of overstepped by government. All of these things, this could be the things that the rally points could be what you build your sphere of influence around. But it's so important that you actually have one, because if locally, as the challenges that are coming in the future, as they are coming at us, you are going to need a sphere of influence. You're going to need a group of people around you, not to steer around and tell them what to do, but to serve. You're going to need to be in relationship. There are no lone wolves in the future that are going to be successful here. And I'm telling you that because I use the Horizon training method And I make sure that I'm looking off on the horizon and I can see there is some trouble a-coming for those people who walk outside beyond the light of the campfire. You definitely want to be sort of tucked into the herd in relationship with a pastor and tucked in and in a church. And if you have a church family, you're definitely going to want people around you, but you're also going to be prepared and raising your own level of competence so you can be a better servant to them. Okay, that's the important thing about this. Now, your CAG ministry here, some people might be saying, you know, my church isn't really into building a citizen action group within the church. Go watch that video, and remember, you don't have to build it inside the church. You can build it in your community. You can actually build a citizen action group in your community outside of your church and then present it later to your pastor and say, hey, we've been having some successes out here in the community. Now can we bring some of these elements into the church and serve you as well? This is really important, though, that you start with that video online, the CAG ministry video. Because that is, you got to start there. You got to start there with an understanding as to what it is. All right. And then finally, this one here, CACs. This is Community Action Councils. That's you in relationship with other people in your community, marketplace leaders, municipal government leaders, church leaders. You're all in community and you're working to transform your community. You want to make your community better. You want to have it something that produces an environment where people can prosper, where you can have an open dialogue between different spheres, whether it's the government or whether it's the family or whether it's the church. You want to be there, being a part, actively engaged in upping the level of the community and the quality of the community. And today, I'm actually, when we get back to the desk, I'm going to introduce you to the next speaker on the next Transformer Zoom call that is focused on community transformation. And we'll go over all of that back at the desk. But this is leveling up. Constantly looking for those opportunities where you can say to yourself, okay, I love my community. I love my family in the community. I want it to be a better place. I'm going to go on the National Leadership Briefing 1 hour once a month, and I'm going to look for these opportunities where Doug is going to put people in front of me that's going to help me advance the community, advance the betterment of my community. All of these things together will raise your level of influence in your community. Okay, so this is what leveling up is. It's looking for these opportunities. Now, I'm going to close with this one last comment because we got to talk a little bit about Horizon. Horizon is super important, and you'll see that in the video, because what I have proposed to you is that you stay in relationship with me so that I can actually point to the horizon and I can say, look, I see an opportunity coming that we can capitalize on. Or there is perhaps a threat on the horizon that we need to prepare to meet. This is something that I have suggested to you. You allow me to serve you in this way. But if you want to level up your understanding of horizon, then what you want to be thinking about in your own mind is, how can I be a provider of a horizon perspective within my own sphere of influence? So how can I do what Doug does for me for my own sphere of influence as I grow my own community locally, as I grow in serving of my local community? Well, this is what I'm going to suggest to you. You want to level up there? Then what you got to do is, first of all, you don't want to jump out of the nest too early. So just bring them on the National Leadership Briefing and let me present Horizon to them. Let me present them until you've upped your game to the point where you're pitching Horizon out there, or you've got something that you want to share that you're sure is aligned with God's will and God's purpose for your lives or for your life. But make sure also that you're looking for other people that are competent in calling out Horizon. That's my suggestion for you today. For example, the National House of Prayer. If you want to stay in connection with them, their Horizon. They actually look to the horizon. If you want to get get competent with understanding the human trafficking issue, Kathy Peters and the BeAmazing.org website. These are horizon people. They look on the horizon. They can see clearly what the challenges are, and then they're there to help you greet those challenges and meet those challenges. Euthanasia. I don't come out here and pretend like I'm the expert on the issue of euthanasia and the challenges that are coming down the road from this. Right from back in 2016, when we first started talking about euthanasia and where we got so concerned about it, was because I tucked into and under the mentorship of Alex Schadenberg at the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. And I never claimed to be the expert. I just pointed everybody to Alex and I said, this is what's happening. We've got to come together. We've got to deal with this threat on the horizon. So use these same resources in your own life. Find these people that are on the horizon, that are dealing with horizon, that are looking out far into the future, and learn from them. Become a student of the way that they direct attention to these things. Then you will become a useful resource in your own local community with what you bring to them, how you introduce that information to them. So until then, though, like I say, use the National Leadership Briefing, because we always say, tucking more people under our wing together here is always a good idea. It's 1 hour, once a month, always on the first Friday of every month, and you and I working together will always produce positive results. We make sure we are doing it the right way. We're not lighting our hair on fire. We're not getting crazy out there. We're working a plan. We're thinking strategically. We're living tactically. All of these things, and we're also continuing to stay in submission to God's call on our life. So anyway, that's all I want to talk to you about today. I hope you get on this. I hope you focus on leveling up, raising your level of competence and confidence so that we can be more effective citizen action leaders in our own communities. Let's go back to the desk. I want to introduce you to this one last guest that I've got today because he's amazing, and then we'll wrap it up on the home stretch. Thanks so much for your time in the boardroom. Bye for now.
The bear has been poked. It's time to wake up from our slumber
and stand together, united as one. One family, one body, one church.
We will not walk past the vulnerable.
Say nothing, do nothing, and turn a blind eye.
We are citizens of a great nation.
We are good Samaritans to our neighbors. You are not alone.
We are the largest unified voice in Canada. So we stand united. This is our rally cry. We are Christ to our nation. This is our battle cry. He shall have dominion from sea to sea and from the river unto the ends of the earth. Righteousness will reign. Justice will prevail. We are united.
Okay, we're back, and boy, was that fun. I mean, I always enjoy the boardroom, but that was, I almost feel like I've been to the gym. Got a bit of a workout there. Anyway, I hope that was helpful because again, in all seriousness, we really do have to level up. This is a significantly challenging period of time that we're in. And if we don't accept responsibility for our own sphere of influence as centers of that sphere of influence, if we don't accept that responsibility, no one else can. No one else can touch the people that you know. Nobody else is in relationship with them the way you are. And you are, in fact, at the center of your sphere of influence, making you the center of influence. Again, I got to stress that. No one else is at the center of your sphere of influence, just you. So up in your game, leveling up, that's real important. So I'll see you in the gym. We'll work out again in the future. Next briefing for sure. All right, this next segment here is something I've been looking forward to all week. I mean, this has been great. Terrell Murphy is a friend. He's someone I've known for a while. We are a group of ministries and individuals that get together on a regular basis across North America, and we're looking for ways that we can transform our communities and to make improvements and to add value to the lives of the people who live in our communities. And so a group of us got together quite a while back now and started hosting what are called Transformer Zoom calls every other month. So roughly every 2 months, you have seen over the course of this last year, you've seen me introduce you to various speakers. Well, I'm excited about all of them. But Terrell Murphy from North Carolina is somebody that I'm real excited about introducing you to today. Terrell is, among other things, he leads ministries that are advisors to local government officials. He is someone who is always looking for a way that he can give a hand up. As you can see behind me, I mean, this is a depiction of who Terrell is. Terrell, with Life Center International Ministries in North Carolina, is the founder of the Apostolic Set Leaders Series. He's also a marketplace leader. He's got a Bachelor of Arts a degree in communications from Appalachian State University, where he also played football, and he was really quite good, I understand. And he's authored books, and he is somebody who has an extensive amount of knowledge working street level, like actually hands-on ministry in his community. So let me just bring him on now. I'm going to include his bio in the post notes today, so you'll have a copy of it and some information on how you can keep in touch with him. But let's just introduce you to Terrell right now. Well, thank you so much, Terrell, for joining us today. I'm excited to be talking to you today. You and I have actually been in like the same orbit of each other for quite a while now, and here we are getting a chance to chat a little bit more here today. Good to see you, Terrell.
Doug, great to see you in wonderful nation of Canada. And gosh, I just appreciate it so much having the time to chat and talk with you beyond what we're doing together to advance the kingdom. Just knowing you more as a person, that's a great honor. And so glad to be with you, sir.
Excellent, excellent. Well, hey, and I should probably just make mention here, Terrell, you are in like Charlotte, North Carolina. Is that right?
Charlotte, North Carolina, one of the most progressive, I'll say one of the most exciting, fast-growing cities in North Carolina, certainly in the Southeast, building itself up to be the next Atlanta. But certainly a lot of the great things are happening in the city of Charlotte. It's a booming area.
Fantastic. And you are also the next person that we get to hear from on the Transformer Zoom calls. Now, for those of you who are new to the Transformer Zoom call format here, just so you know, every other month, those who have a heart for their community get together and they learn and grow on how they can work together to transform their city and their communities. And we have speakers that come on every other month. There's a group of us that get together, Terrell, you and I, and there's a whole other group from all across North America that really believe and have a heart for our communities. And this next call is coming up on June the 8th. And I'm hoping you're going to tell us a little bit about what it is that you're going to be sharing on that call on June the 8th.
Well, you know, I'm extremely excited about all of our Transformer Zoom calls, and I love the way that you phrased it, men and women who have a heart for their communities, which is the most impactful thing that we can do to manifest change and transformation. And so our Transformer Zoom calls are tremendous. And so for anyone who this will be your first time making it, or you've made it before, bring other people with you. We're understanding and really moving in some knowledge and techniques and strategies, and really just some postures that are helping us to come alongside of the things that are going to be effective in bringing long-term growth, change, and better quality of life in the lives of people. So June 8th is going to be tremendous, and I'm glad to get a chance to be there and to share and to just connect with other people from all over the country and even the world in some cases.
Now, Terrell, we spoke about this before. We have planning meetings that we get together. We talk, and at the last planning meeting, you share with a group a little bit about what you're actually going to be talking about on June the 8th. And I was really intrigued because you got right down to some real basic and real building block important pieces when it comes to city transformation. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you're going to be sharing on June the 8th so people know what they can expect?
You know, Doug, I appreciate you asking. I believe that the heart of a reformer is one of the most tremendous things that an individual can carry. And that moving from personal reformation, reformation in their family, reformation in the things that they put their hands to every day. I think a part of our nature and calling as believers in the nature of Christ is that we are pioneers. We are men and women that are called to go out on the edge, go outside of boundaries, go beyond what has been done before and make great and awesome things happen. It's kind of like making crooked paths straight. It's like identifying us with, say, Lewis and Clark and their expeditions, the gold rush, pioneers who settled and established cities and towns all over this world and in all of the nations. These were men and women who had an apostolic spirit. They had a pioneering spirit, and that is so important and necessary in every aspect of our lives. I believe that personal change always starts with the individual. When we look at Transformer Zoom calls and those that have gravitated to it, and we're trusting that those that are listening to me now will be there when we do our next one, and they'll bring some of their relationships and even organizations into this gathering. A thing we realize about men and women who are reformers is that they carry this peculiar thing about them that gives them, which is provided for them, rather, this understanding of the mind of God. I do believe, Doug, that often people who carry great propensity and capacity to bring change often get busy in the work of the Lord, but then sometimes omit the Lord of the work. And I found myself being there before, so excited about vision, excited about opportunity, again, talking about a pioneering spirit, going out into the frontier to move and work in things that haven't been done before. And before we know it, we can discover that we've been doing it in our own power. And it's good things that we're doing, and they're things that God approves of. But he really says, apart from me, you can really do nothing. I'm the vine and you're the branch. And what I've discovered over the years is that's where my nourishment comes from. And so for men and women that are really on the front lines, making things happen, bringing shifts and changes and realignments in the locales that they're in, it's very, very important that they stay connected to the Lord. And that seems like a very simple statement, but I think if we were all honest, we would say, yeah, but I haven't done that very well. I've gone for weeks and days and months without really taking time to settle into him and discover what he's after. Jesus's intent forever has been to make God known. It has been to cause men and women to be reconciled to him. And Doug, I don't think that reconciliation stops at salvation. I think it ties back into the only reason that God created, well, not the only reason, but I think the primary reason everything else good comes out of this, that God created Adam and Eve, and it was for fellowship. It was for relationship. And so when we see Jesus come into the region in the New Testament, the first thing he says is repent. And really, when we look at that and we translate that word on out, it moves beyond sin into the changing of one's mind. And I believe that what we will discover in our talk on our next Transformers Zoom call is that there must be a repenting in all of us, because it's when we change our minds that we really grab the mind of Christ. But a key to that is intimacy. You know, that's where our power is. That's where vision is. That's where the ability to endure and to overcome. That's where we get strategies. That's where we're able to hear the heart of God for what it is that we're putting our hands to. Jesus said, I only do what I see the Father do. And I know that I've been guilty of doing things that Terrell wants to do, things that appeal to Terrell, but they're really not the things that God is doing. Back to what I said some moments ago, they're good things, but they're not the right thing. Right. And I'm appealing to men and women out there who are feeling like, man, I'm banging this out, I'm doing it. There are people who are interested. I know this is what the Lord is saying to do, but they're coming up against some ceilings. And when we come together, we're going to talk about some of these ceilings that people hit, and really bring some solutions to how we can get over these mountains, how we can get through these valleys. We've got vision, we've got excitement, we've got zeal. We know we have a calling to be changers and agents of transformation in our communities, but sometimes there's a missing piece.
Right.
I've heard it said before that it's like trying to open a safe, and you're turning the numbers, but you're listening for that tumbler to fall in place, and that unlocks something. And I believe that what is shared on our next Transformers Zoom call through the things that the Lord's speaking to me is really going to be that which causes some tumblers to drop and some doors to open, to help people understand where all this has to begin, where it has to stay, what has to be cultivated. Because there's no lack of desire to do great things for our Lord, but is our desire for the Lord greater than our desire to do things for him? Yeah. And again, that's the place where I think we have to learn to launch from. And we have to slow down sometimes and take our and reflect and say, okay, am I in the right place in him? Am I in the place of intimacy with him? That's where my power comes from. Wow. That's where greater grace is developed. That's where my giftings. And many times we get so busy again working that we forget to stop and Selah and recharge and renew ourselves and refresh ourselves. We think it can't go on without us. And it really can't go on without him.
Terrell, let's just get some details out there. June the 8th, okay? It's Thursday. Thursday, June the 8th starts at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And for those of you who are actually able to make the call, I just want to show there's going to be some notes that Terrell's going to be sharing. Is that right, Terrell?
Yeah, going to make sure. You know, I believe that one of our strategies in learning and growing in the kingdom of God is we have to understand that the kingdom is very principled. And those principles need to be recorded, written down, practiced over and over. Practice becomes permanent. And when we practice those things that we write down, that we commit to our memories, they become permanent in our actions. And I think it's from there that we see great fruit and fruit that remains. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're going to have some post notes for everybody that on what you're going to share, Terrell. There's a video coming up right after this. Look on the bottom. There's an email address for everybody that if you're not registered already for that call, please send an email off to the email address we're going to provide. And we will look forward to seeing you, Terrell, and hearing your message on June the 8th. That's Thursday, June the 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thanks so much for your time today, Terrell.
Thank you, Doug. Look forward to seeing you and all these solutionists come together on June the 8th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care. Awesome. God bless you all.
We're crying out for the church to be the church in the community.
The ecclesia is a relational model that God has been calling forward.
Being present is about showing up on a regular basis.
So I'm convinced that God will birth a love in one's heart for the place he has put you in. And sometimes that requires a process. Sometimes we don't initially love the place where we are or where God is sending us, but we respond in obedience.
And I believe there must be the restoration of the cry of God in the heart of us as leaders to cry out to God for our cities.
And for those of you who have a heart for your local community, then I would encourage you to participate in what we call Transformer Calls, focused on your engagement and the love that you have for your communities. Okay, well, that's our time for today. One last thing I did want to add, though, before we go, and that is a conversation I had recently with a friend of mine. We were having a ministry gathering. There were a whole bunch of leaders getting together. And one of the things that I said to my friend was, I said, you know, there's a lot of unfunded projects within our organization. I said, I just pray that there's going to be the enough resources that will fund these things that are sitting on my desk that I know are going to bring great relief to people and prosper our neighbors and do very, very well. I just don't have the resources. And she looked at me and she said, you know, that's really interesting, Doug, because the way you come across, you don't ever seem like you need any resources at all. And I said, well, maybe I should ask. So that's what I'm asking to finish up today with. I'm going to say, if you appreciate that we are doing a good work here and you want to sow into our ministry and you want to help us along, I'm going to put a special link in the post-briefing notes for you so that you can partner with us. You can go to the website behind me. Canada Family Action has a website there, familyaction.ca, and you can also find a donor and partner link there as well. But there is a lot of work to do, and believe me, I believe that I could probably spend every dollar that you partnered with us and gave us. So thanks so much for your time today. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to serving you on the road ahead. And in the meantime, God bless you, God bless your family, and may God continue to bless this great nation of Canada. Bye for now.